Moved. Agreed? Okay. Accordingly, the recorded division stands deferred until Tuesday, October 17, 2017, at the expiry of the time provided for government orders. Statement by members. Déclaration de député. L'honorable député.
The Honourable Member for La Salle et Verdun. Madam Speaker, on October 5th, the world lost a world-renowned architect. Dan Hanganou was known the world over for his designs, including his design of the Pointe-à-Caverne Museum and the Théâtre Nouveau Monde in Montreal. He also designed the Marc Favreau Library, the Cirque du Soleil workshops, and a building, Mr. Speaker, that I have often been to, McGill University's Law Library and the Atrium. Born in Romania, Mr. Hanganou came to Montreal in 1970 and contributed to the urban landscape of Montreal for more than 40 years. Mr. Hanganou was the recipient of several distinctions for his architectural masterpieces. In 2005, he became Officer of the Ordre National du Québec. In 2008, he received the Gold Medal of the RAIC.
To the aesthetics of Quebec's architectural landscape. Rest in peace. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Oshawa.
Mr. Speaker, today is World Spine Day. The purpose of World Spine Day is to raise awareness about spinal health and spinal disorders to individuals, communities, professionals, and all stakeholders associated with spine care. This year's theme is Your Back in Action, with a focus on the importance of body awareness and activities that promote a healthy spine. 1 in 8 Canadians suffer from chronic back pain. We all spend hours reading, hunched over our computers, and on our smartphones. This all adds up, especially if you have poor posture. As a chiropractor myself, I'm pleased that the Canadian Chiropractic Association is on Parliament Hill today to educate members on chiropractic care and opportunities to improve posture. I encourage all members to actually sit up straight and visit the Speaker's Salon after question period and have their posture assessed by leading chiropractors such as the team of chiropractors for the Ottawa Senators, the Toronto Argos, and the Canadian Winter Olympic team. Happy World Spine Day. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Merci beaucoup.
The Honourable Member for Saint Laurent. Mr. Speaker, October is Women's History Month in Canada. In October, Canadian men and women will be commemorating the achievements of our society's pioneer women. This will also be an opportunity to better understand and to highlight these important contributions of women to the history of our country and to our quality of life.
In Canada and around the world, our Prime Minister has already set an amazing example for the world to follow by appointing a gender-balanced cabinet and by getting more women elected. We will continue to encourage women and girls to believe in themselves and to become leaders in their respective fields. There is a lot of untapped potential in our country and we mustn't let it go to waste.
Women and girls must use their passion, their compassion, and the creative ideas to bring solutions to today's problems. The contribution of women in our society is vital. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquinongé. Mr. Speaker, today, October 16th, is World Food Day. This is a day that must be celebrated, but we must also rise to the challenge of food security here in Canada and in the world. Did you know that 800 million individuals in the world are affected by hunger, and that this number increased by 38 million over the past year? It is in this context that the United Nations launched Zero Hunger Challenge. The purpose of this campaign is to eliminate hunger and to call for the active participation on the part of governments, private businesses, and civil society. This is an important challenge because food is a fundamental right. Canada is no exception. Food insecurity is on the rise, mainly in the north and in our Indigenous communities. Our government must promote initiatives to reduce inequality, reduce poverty, and reduce food insecurity. Here and in the world, it is unacceptable that 850,000 Canadians are using food banks each month. We must work together to end their hunger.
Honourable Member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians have watched in horror as news of the deplorable terrorist attack in Somalia this weekend has emerged. I rise today to add my voice to the chorus of others that have expressed their deepest condolences to the people of Somalia and around the world affected by the terrible bombing in Mogadishu. Sunday's attack was the deadliest in the history of Somalia and in the region. As more information becomes available, we are learning more gruesome details of the aftermath. I want to commend the bravery of the first responders and all those who have been working tirelessly to assist the victims. I and all members of this House and Canadians extend our deepest condolences to the families of the victims of this heinous attack. Mr. Speaker, Canada stands with the people of Somalia. In trying times like these, we must all work together in support of a more peaceful future free from violence and hate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Edmonton-Griesbach.
Mr. Speaker, it's Small Business Week. I want to tell you about my friend Marie. She and her husband, Doug, built an award-winning renovation company in Edmonton. Sadly, Doug was stricken with cancer and died 5 years ago. So Marie, newly widowed and a single mom, took a big risk. She quit her full-time teaching job to run the reno company and keep it afloat. She wanted her employees to keep their jobs and feed their families. The company flourished, but Marie's now terrified the proposed Liberal changes to small business tax could sink her company and kill 20 jobs. She wrote a letter to the Liberal finance minister and to her Edmonton Centre Liberal MP. Her letter reads in part, I strongly urge you to reconsider the proposed tax changes. You need to help small business owners, not hurt them. Reward those who work hard and take the risk. The Liberals should listen to this woman. Canadian small businesses are the heart of our nation, and this week we honour them.
The Honourable member for Mississauga East Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, this week we're celebrating Small Business Week, and the theme of the week is uncovering emerging trends that will shape and grow Canadian companies for years to come. My riding of Mississauga East Cooksville is a local innovation hub with companies like Fielding Chemical Technologies and Intake Eco-Durable Products, creating innovative technologies and good middle-class jobs. That's why I'm proud that our government has invested $1.4 billion to support clean tech firms, announced the creation of Innovation Canada, a one-stop shop for government support for entrepreneurs, and just last week revealed the shortlisted winners of the Super Clusters Initiative to accelerate growth from coast to coast to coast. Speaker, I'm proud that Canada leads the G7 in economic growth. Working with our entrepreneurs and innovative small businesses, we'll continue to grow the economy for the middle class and those working hard to join it.
Honourable member for Toronto Danforth.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, today is World Food Day. World Food Day promotes awareness raising and action on behalf of those affected by hunger, as well as raising awareness about the importance of ensuring food security and nutritious food for all. Here in Canada, our government is committed to supporting our producers and will be implementing Canada's first food policy.
Today, the Minister of Agriculture is joining G7 agriculture ministers and His Holiness Pope Francis to speak on this important topic at World Food Day ceremonies in Rome. The Minister of International Development is also marking World Food Day by announcing additional funding via our trusted humanitarian partners to bring vital food aid to the Rohingya population that is fleeing violence in Myanmar. Our government is proud to support our world-class farmers and food producers here at home, as well as support international goals to help address hunger. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable member for Kitchener-Conestoga.
Mr. Speaker, 2 days ago I returned from Serbia and Hungary after productive meetings with a number of their members of Parliament. Traveling on Thanksgiving weekend in the autumn colours there reminded me of home. And later in the week, as part of the international consultation on Christian persecution, I visited Cross in Fire, an exhibit at the Hungarian National Museum. In the West, we have not yet awakened to the magnitude of the destruction, particularly in Syria, Iraq, and North Africa. In 2015 in Iraq, one Christian was killed every 5 minutes, simply because of their religious belief. So here in Canada, we are right to give thanks to God for the bountiful harvests, our freedoms, and countless other blessings. Yet we cannot forget the plight of our brothers and sisters enduring brutal physical persecution, having lost homes, family, and even life. Today, thousands of refugees want to return home and resettle in their native lands. We need to help provide security and stabilization, humanitarian aid, and create opportunities for life in the region. Canada can help. Canada must help. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Montarville. Mr. Speaker, this year, the Lions Club Association is celebrating its centennial. They were founded in 1917 in Chicago, and the Lions rose to the challenge to be the Knights of the Blind. Through its white canes with red bands, audiobook device donations, sponsoring cornea banks, and onchocerciasis treatment, one could say that the Lions have answered the call. I shared a meal with Denis Poulain, a great citizen of Sainte-Julie, and Cécile Langelier from the Lions Club, with whom I walked along with the member for Saint-Hyacinthe in support of Canine Vision Canada's Guide Dog program. Mr. Speaker, I invite all my colleagues to join with me in wishing the Lions a happy birthday.
The Honourable Member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, today is Space Day on the Hill. In 1962, the Alouette 1 marked Canada's entry into space. We built the Canadarm, which maintains the International Space Station, and now our Canadian space industry will launch a constellation of satellites that will monitor our sovereignty, environment, and climate change. Innovation in space permeates our entire economy. From GPS to banking to cell phones, our daily lives rely on space-based assets. The space sector employs over 10,000 Canadians in high-quality jobs and creates over $5 billion in revenue. Canada is a leader in space technologies, and a new national space strategy will ensure that we do not lose our competitive edge in this important sector. Thank you to the Aerospace Industries Association of Canada and to all our leading-edge companies for making Canada a world leader in space technology today and in the future. So join us tonight for our space reception.
The Honourable Member for Abbotsford.
Mr. Speaker, Abbotsford has lost a community champion. On October 1st, my good friend Jack Robertson died at the age of 91. Jack loved our community and did everything he could to contribute to its success, but he never sought recognition for his own accomplishments. A former city councillor, he spearheaded the creation of Rotary Stadium, which remains the jewel of Abbotsford's sports facilities. Jack was a founding president of the Abbotsford Sports Hall of Fame and chaired the highly successful 1995 Western Canada Summer Games. He also co-founded the Abbotsford Police Foundation, on which he sat as a director until his death. Jack is the recipient of the Order of Abbotsford and a member of the Abbotsford Sports Hall of Fame. What I will miss most about Jack is his willingness to inspire and encourage the next generation of community leaders. I am among that ever-growing cohort, and those public servants are perhaps the most enduring legacy he has left behind. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Jack's wife, Jean, and their family. Thank you for sharing him with us. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Léonard, Saint-Michel.
Community Groups Network recognizes every year an exceptional individual with the Young Quebecer Leading the Way Award. She, and I quote, is a brilliant, resilient, and courageous young woman who overcame adversity to become a highly visible and influential proponent of safe driving, as stated by QCGN. It goes on to say, beginning in 2010, during the summer of her 16th birthday, she battled back from devastating injuries caused by an impaired driver. Since 2012, she participates in numerous school presentations, documentaries, and media interviews, and also speaks for a number of organizations, including Cool Taxi. Her extraordinary road safety advocacy and inspirational influence is recognized all over Quebec. End of quote. Her miraculous comeback to life and tremendous devotion fills my heart with great joy for another important reason, Mr. Speaker. That young lady is my daughter, Claudia Diorio. She is here today, alive and well, and as throughout her ordeal, accompanied by her two sisters, Ariel and Maros. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte. On Saturday, November 18th at 1:30 p.m., Canada 150 will be celebrated at the Saint-Hyacinthe Cathedral. I am happy to be associated with this important local celebration marked by music as well as by our history. I'd like to thank the Saint-Hyacinthe Philharmonic Orchestra for organizing this large gathering, bringing together concerts and history together in collaboration with Saint-Hyacinthe's History Centre. Furthermore, the 6th Battalion of the Royal 22nd Regiment, the Saint-Hyacinthe Cadet Corps 1 and the Squadron 953 will provide the ceremonial component of the event. I'd like to thank our invaluable financial partners, Chartwell, Le Courrier de Saint-Hyacinthe, Sylvestre et Associés, Coopérative Funéraire Saint-Hyacinthe, Barrelford, MRC des Mascoutins, Imprimerie Masca, Desjardins, H. Gagnon et Fils, Marché Lacroix, Les Monuments Roger Fontaine, and Comax. I invite all women and men in Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte and my colleagues here in the House to come out in large numbers to this grand event.
The Honourable Member for Sherwood Park, Fort Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, it is a tragedy and a moral outrage when even one innocent life is taken. This weekend saw one of the world's deadliest terrorist attacks in recent memory, as over 300 people were killed in an attack in Somalia. That death toll continues to rise. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Somalia and especially the affected families. African nations are on the front line of the fight against terrorism, and many have suffered greatly through terrorist attacks. Attacks in Africa have not always gotten the same attention or level of response as attacks in Western nations, but it is time that change. We must show our solidarity and commitment to act together with our partners against terrorism and violent extremism, wherever it is and whatever the nationality of its victims. Somalia has identified the al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group al-Shabaab as being responsible. We must renew our commitment to defeating Africa-based terrorist groups like al-Shabaab and Boko Haram, as well as affiliates like al-Qaeda and Daesh. And we must proactively promote religious freedom, pluralism, and human dignity as an alternative to the ideology of these groups.
The Honourable Member for New Brunswick Southwest.
Mr. Speaker, I am honored to rise in the House today to recognize small businesses across our great country during Small Business Week. I know well the excitement, sacrifices, risks, opportunities, and nimbleness required to start, maintain, and grow a business. I am proud of the business owners in my riding of New Brunswick Southwest and how they have shared with me suggestions to improve our policies, plan for the future, including lowering the small business tax. Our government is fulfilling our commitment to lowering taxes on small businesses from 11% in 2015 to 9% in 2019. Mr. Speaker, this week and every week, I want to thank our small business owners for what they contribute to their communities, the economy, and our great country. Thank you.
Oral questions, questions orales, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, we already know that the Liberals had attacked the investments that small businesses use to create jobs for Canadians. Now, they also want to attack employee discounts. Yesterday, the president of the Treasury Board contradicted the Prime Minister and said that employee discounts would be tabled, but he couldn't offer any details. Will the Prime Minister clarify this government's policy? Will this government impose employee discount taxes? The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Our government has focused on helping the middle class since the beginning of our term. The reported question did not reflect our government's intentions, and it's currently being revised. We continue to ensure that our actions support the middle class. And as the Prime Minister said, we will not target employee discounts for retail workers.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Revised but not cancelled, Mr. Speaker. That's an important distinction. This Prime Minister just can't help but hurt the very people he claims he wants to help. Now we learn that he wants to tax the discounts received by employees. The Liberals claim they never intended to do this, and then they even tried to blame public servants. But the finance minister's own officials told committee members over a month ago that they were going to do this. Why is it that whenever hardworking Canadians look behind them, they see the Prime Minister try to take more and more of their hard-earned money?
Our government has been focused in the helping the middle class. The document from the agency did not reflect the intention of our government. If has been removed and is being reviewed, we will continue to ensure that our actions support the middle class, and like the Prime Minister started, we will not be going after anyone's retail employee discounts, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The problem is, Mr. Speaker, is that nobody believes them. They've lost all credibility on this front. It took them over a month to walk this back, and it was only after they got caught and only after the outrage expressed by thousands of hardworking Canadians that they pulled this back. So can the government be crystal clear on this? Can they commit that nobody's employee discounts will be touched after they get through with these changes?
The Honourable Minister of National Revenue.
As I've already said, the document in question did not respect the intentions of our government. It has been withdrawn and is currently being reviewed.
Allowed.
Order. Order.
Today, I wish others would try to do the same until they have the floor. Of course, that would be good. The Honourable Minister of National Revenue has the floor.
I asked officials to clarify the text. Our government cares about the middle class, and I want to remind my colleagues across the way that we increased taxes on the wealthiest 1%, Mr. Speaker, so that we could lower taxes for the middle class. Members across the way voted against that initiative because they prefer lowering taxes on the wealthy at the expense of the middle class. Honourable Member for Richmond North Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, 2 million Canadians work in the retail sector. Youth, seniors, students, people who work hard every day. And currently, those workers are receiving conflicting information from the Canada Revenue Agency and the Minister herself. Mr. Speaker, we're still looking for answers. Has this government found a new way to tax employee discounts so that they can get even more money from the middle class? The Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, as I just mentioned, the document in question did not whatsoever respect our government's intentions. It's been withdrawn and is currently being reviewed. I asked officials to clarify the wording of the text. It's our government, Mr. Speaker, that cares about the middle class. We are taking concrete steps to help the middle class. We ended the Conservatives' checks that they were giving to the wealthiest families, and we replaced them by the Canada Child Benefit, which is more generous for 9 families out of 10, and over 300,000 children are no longer in poverty. The Honourable Member for Richmond North Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, the Minister said that she was never informed or even consulted about the CRA's decision to tax workers' employee discounts. Is she aware of what's going on in her own department? And if so, can she tell us where this directive came from and how Canadians can trust this Liberal government, which treats middle-class workers like the top wealthy 1% in this country? Honourable Minister of National Revenue. Mr. Speaker, from the beginning of our term, we have focused on helping the middle class and helping people working hard to join the middle class. The document in question does not reflect the intentions of our government, Mr. Speaker. It's been withdrawn and is currently being reviewed. We will continue to ensure that our actions support the middle class. And as I said, and as the Prime Minister have said, we will not target the retail employee discount. Honourable Member for Rimouski-Nejet-Témiscouata-Lévesque. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance must have had a tough riding week. First, he was accused of not declaring a private company. And now we've learned that his business assets were never placed in a blind trust. Rather than taking responsibility for his actions, the Minister of Finance is saying that the Ethics Commissioner didn't tell him that he had to do this. The Liberals don't seem able to follow their own code of ethics. The question is, why aren't they even able of just using common sense? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, well, common sense, it says that this is a big day for small business owners in Canada, Mr. Speaker. We promised in our election campaign, and I will quote this, that we would reduce the tax rate for small businesses from 11 to 9%. We said that that was what we're going to do, and today we are delivering on that promise. We are proud of keeping our commitment to reduce the corporate tax rate from 11 to 9%. We've listened to Canadians, and so has the caucus, Mr. Speaker. We've made our tax system fair for all Canadians.
Alors.
Order.
Alors.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski, Nejet, Témiscouata-les-Basques. Mr. Speaker, maybe they can come see me after after question period, and I'll have something to say in French. The Liberals promised to set new ethical standards, and they continue to miss the mark. Shortly after being appointed, the Minister of Finance himself admitted that he should move his assets into a blind trust, but he chose not to do so. One wonders why he didn't think it was necessary. In what universe would a Minister of Finance think that he could continue managing his own business assets? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, our Minister of Finance works in a universe where he is working hard for Canadians. The Minister worked with the Ethics Commissioner to ensure that all of the conflict of interest laws were respected. Appropriate measures were taken to ensure that that he respected the requirements, and that's what Canadians want to hear. People on this side of the House are working in their interest.
For Bulkley Valley.
You know, Mr. Speaker, one of the great mysteries in political life in Canada is exactly how do you get a Liberal to keep a Liberal promise? Well, now we have the answer. When Liberals have totally screwed up a small business tax plan, when they've attacked small businesses while ignoring their wealthy friends, when they've backed so deep into a corner they've got nowhere else to go, then and only then will Liberals honour their commitments to Canadians. And so why is keeping a promise the Liberal version of just damage control?
Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, as you know, it's a great day for small business owners in Canada. In August 2015, we promised in our platform, and let me quote it, Mr. Speaker, because these members may want to hear the answer, to reduce the small business tax rate to 9% from 11%. We said we should be doing back then, and we now are doing what we promised, Mr. Speaker. Our government is proud to fulfill our commitment to lower taxes on small businesses from 11% in 2015 to 9% in 2019. We have truly listened to Canadians in our caucus, Mr. Speaker, to ensure a fairer tax system that will benefit all Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Skeena Bulkley Valley.
You know, the finance minister seems so very forgetful these days. He forgot that cutting small business taxes was a promise that he ran on. He forgot he owned a luxury villa in France, but hey, what middle-class Canadian hasn't? And he also forgot to tell us that his vast wealth was not, in fact, in a blind trust, and he only comes clean when he's in a world of trouble. So why does this forgetful finance minister never remember his promises to Canadians, but always remember his ways to protect his own wealth?
Yeah. Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Mr. Speaker, indeed a good day for Canadians. And Canadians know, Mr. Speaker, that when we make a promise to Canadians, we fulfill this promise, Mr. Speaker. But let me answer the member question. The Minister has worked with the Ethics Commissioner to ensure all conflict of interest rules are indeed followed. Appropriate measures and screens have been put in place in order to fully comply with the recommendations provided by the Ethics Commissioner. Mr. Speaker, these members would better listen to Canadians.
Order. There's far too much noise. People are in a great mood. That's nice. But let's try to listen. Order. Or this could be shortened. The honourable member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, the Finance Minister's apparent willful disregard of the Conflict of Interest Act raises some serious questions. Did the minister intentionally mislead the Ethics Commissioner about the nature of his private interests in France? Why did he withhold details of his private corporation in France? Mr. Speaker, why does this extremely wealthy minister believe he is above conflict of interest and ethics reporting rules?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to reassure the member that the Minister of Finance has always worked with the Ethics Commissioner to make sure that all rules are followed and will continue to do so. But if they want to play politics while we work for Canadians, it's their business. I'm very proud, Mr. Speaker, to work with a Finance Minister that's achieved more growth in 2 years than they ever could, and that has done it meanwhile reducing child poverty by 40%, helping 900,000 seniors, reducing taxes for 9 million Canadians. I'm proud to work with them. Thank you.
Order. The honourable member for Thornhill.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this government is guilty of any number of lapses of judgment, but the Finance Minister's violation of the straightforward requirements of the Ethics Commissioner's disclosure declaration for all members of Cabinet raises serious questions not only of ethics, conflict of interest and credibility, but of the confidence Canadians have lost in this government. Mr. Speaker, when will the minister come clean with the Ethics Commissioner and Canadians?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to reassure my colleague that the Minister of Finance has always worked closely with the Ethics Commissioner and will continue to do so to ensure that all measures are in place to respect the laws and the directives. But I understand, Mr. Speaker, that he might want to criticize the good that we're doing for the middle class. We are currently implementing our campaign commitment to lower the corporate tax rate to 9% because we support small businesses. We know how important they are for the economy in Canada. The honourable member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary secretary seems to forget that his own government, in its first budget, abolished the reduction that our government had proposed. That's the reality. Mr. Speaker, last week, CBC uncovered something very concerning for all Canadians. For 2 years, the Minister of Finance hid from the Ethics Commissioner the fact that he owned a corporation that managed a nice villa in the south of France. Well, Mr. Speaker, this same Minister of Finance has attacked hardworking business owners to take more money from them. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance, once again, has always worked closely with the Ethics Commissioner and will continue to do so to ensure that all of her recommendations are followed. But what the member forgets, Mr. Speaker, is that we said in August 2015 that we would move forward with a tax reduction for small businesses. We always said that we'd do that while reviewing our tax system to ensure that it was fair. I'm proud that we're moving forward with these initiatives after having listened to Canadians. The honourable member for Louis Saint-Laurent. Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary secretary reminded us that the finance minister is working hand in hand with the ethics commissioner, but he just forgot to tell her that he owned a villa in France. So, that's a small thing that he forgot, but actually he's forgetting to say the important things. Will the Minister of Finance commit to no longer hiding anything from the ethics commissioner? the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can reassure the opposition member that the Minister has always worked closely with the Ethics Commissioner to ensure that all of the rules are followed and all of the appropriate measures are in place to ensure that that is the case.
House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, this cannot be sugar-coated. According to the law, the Minister of Finance had 60 days to disclose his assets to the Ethics Commissioner. He didn't do it. It's that plain. It's that simple. Has the Finance Minister become so arrogant and so entitled that he actually thinks he's above the law?
Yeah. Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to reiterate that the Minister has worked with the Ethics Commissioner to make sure that all conflict of interest rules are followed, that appropriate measures and screens have been put in place in order to fully comply, Mr. Speaker, with the recommendations provided by the Ethics Commissioner. And I'm very proud to be working with this Minister, who today announced that we're lowering the tax rate for small businesses from 10.5% to 9% because we stand behind small businesses in this Small Business Week. And we've always done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Opposition House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we have a Prime Minister who is for the first time in history being investigated by the Ethics Commissioner. We have a Finance Minister who is refusing to obey the law. That is nothing to be proud of, Mr. Speaker. In fact, the stench coming from the two most senior Liberals in that government and in that caucus is overwhelming and cannot be ignored. So it begs the question, what else is that Finance Minister hiding from Canadians?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to reassure the member the Finance Minister has always worked with the Ethics Commissioner in full transparency to make sure that he's in full compliance with the rules and the recommendations of the Ethics Commissioner. That's what Canadians expect. That's what we'll keep doing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, last Friday, Sears received the authorization to liquidate its assets. And because of our inadequate bankruptcy laws, the workers and retirees of the company are going to be the big losers in this situation. They may lose their pension and benefits. It's completely absurd that the Liberals are let rich shareholders cash out at the expense of our workers and retirees who are struggling to make ends meet. When will the Liberals join the NDP to make workers and retirees priority lenders? The Honourable Minister of Economic Development. Mr. Speaker, we are always concerned by the impact that this will have on workers and their families.
Very closely, because we understand that this is very, very difficult for many regions, for many of the workers and their employees as well with Sears Canada, and that is why we are closely looking at the situation that's before the courts. We can't comment on any of the specific matters before the courts, but we are also looking at what benefits we can provide, and we'll continue to engage and work with the workers and their families and the different communities across the country.
Honourable Member for Hamilton Mountain.
Well, you can start by taking action. Last Friday, Sears Canada received court authorization to liquidate their assets. Because of our inadequate bankruptcy laws, shareholders and managers like Eddie Lampert will end up even richer than before, while workers and pensioners will lose jobs, benefits, and some part of their pensions. And the worst part, it's legal. Shame. It's scandalous that the Liberals continue to place the interests of wealthy and well-connected insiders above the well-being of working Canadians and retirees. When will the Liberals join the NDP to make workers and pensioners the first priority?
Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, I can understand and appreciate this is a very difficult time for the workers, their families, and many communities across the country. And I understand the current Sears Canada Pension Fund assets are held in trust, and as such must be used solely for the benefit of pensioners. So it's completely protected from the claims of other creditors, and the unfunded pension portion will have a claim, and the proceeds of those claims of liquidation will be a priority for the pensioners as well. We'll continue to monitor the situation. We're going to work with the workers, we're going to work with their families, and we're going to work with the different communities, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
The Minister of Finance is always forgetting things. He forgot his keys, he forgot his villa in France, he forgot even the corporation he holds that villa inside of. He forgot the $30 million of shares in Morneau Chabelle. He forgot to put that into a blind trust, and he forgot today to tax any of his own family fortune. Why is it that the only thing that this minister doesn't forget is his wallet?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, the Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Finance has always worked closely with the Ethics Commissioner to ensure that all of the rules are followed and that everything is done transparently. I understand that the opposition members are trying to play politics with this, but on this side of the House, we're focusing on helping Canadians. That's why today we're moving forward with a reduction in the tax rate for small businesses, which will stimulate growth. And that was a promise that we made during the election campaign. We've created over 400,000 jobs. They can't say the same.
Honourable Member for Carleton.
In his very first budget, this finance minister cancelled the small business tax cut, breaking the Liberal platform promise. Now they expect us to pat them on the back for unbreaking their promise, Mr. Speaker. It's kind of like his Morneau Chabelle subsidiary that he keeps in Barbados, a tax haven, a haven that he's for which he is responsible of overseeing a review. Are any of the measures he's proposing today planning to impose taxes on Morneau Chabelle's assets in the Barbados?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've always been clear with Canadians. We made this promise during the campaign that we would lower taxes for small businesses because we know how important they are. We've always said as well that we wanted a fairer tax system, and that is precisely what we're doing. And we're doing so after having consulted Canadians from coast to coast. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, during the Liberal leadership race, the Prime Minister told Canadians that he was going to set a higher, stricter ethical standard by transferring all the shares and bonds that he inherited from his father into a blind trust. But you know what? Today, the Minister of Finance wouldn't even respect that same rule. Wouldn't respect that code of ethics. When will he respect this code of ethics and respect Canadians? Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister of Finance was working with the Ethics Commissioner and has done so from the very beginning to ensure that all of the recommendations of the Commissioner are respected. That's what Canadians expect, and that's what the Minister is doing, and we're proud of that. The Honourable Member for Beauce. Mr. Speaker, in a blind trust, normally the person doesn't have any right to control their own fortune. Today we've learned that the Minister of Finance is managing the country's finances on one hand and managing his personal fortune on the other. We know that his fortune isn't in a blind trust. And, Mr. Speaker, why has the Minister of Finance created a rule today that means that Morneau Chabelle doesn't have to pay the same taxes? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can assure the member that the Minister of Finance has always worked very transparently and very closely with the Ethics Commissioner and follows her recommendations about blind trusts. I'm very proud to work with a minister who has reduced taxes for 9 million Canadians and who has announced a lower tax rate for small businesses, who has helped seniors in this country with the Guaranteed Income Supplement, who has reduced childhood poverty by 40%. We're proud of that, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Sherbrooke. Netflix was allowed to ignore our tax laws while the Canada Revenue Agency published a new interpretation that would tax employee discounts offered by our small businesses. Yes, the Minister of Revenue prefers to keep attacking middle-class employees instead of CEOs of big businesses that hide their incomes in tax havens. It's shameful. How can you allow a huge company like Netflix to avoid paying taxes when employee discounts will be taxed? The Minister says that she's not aware, but who's in charge of the Revenue Agency? Is it the Minister? And when will she take responsibility for this file? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Our government has already said that we are not going to further tax Canadians. We want to invest in our content creators. In Canada, the arts and culture represent an industry of $55 million and represent more than 630,000 jobs. That's why we are going to continue to support our creators.
In this fourth round of NAFTA renegotiations, President Trump continues to speak negatively about the deal, even while sitting beside our silent Prime Minister. The Americans are clearly bargaining in bad faith, placing poison pills on the table, such as the requirement that vehicles contain at least 50% U.S. content. The automotive sector has stated that not only will this backfire, companies will simply pay the low 2.5% tariffs instead of ensuring that content is regionally sourced and jobs are secured. When will this government present their plan to protect the future and health of Canadian jobs and our auto sector?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary for Canada-U.S. Relations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Canada is the biggest market for the United States, bigger than China, Japan, and the UK combined. We're negotiating with the most protectionist U.S. administration since the 1930s, and we never said these negotiations would be easy. A modernized NAFTA remains a goal, but we cannot accept proposals that will leave the middle class in all three countries, and especially Canadians, worse off. Mr. Speaker, we will always defend our national interests and stand up for Canadian values. Thank you.
Député de Sherbrooke.
The Honourable Member for Sherbrooke. Sorry, Sudbury. Mr. Speaker, as you know, I owned a small business.
Concerns for small business owners throughout the country, including myself. Can the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance update this House on what we are doing as a government to support small businesses grow our economy?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Order.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Et je veux...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, order, order. I just called upon the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary, not everybody else. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary has the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For his tireless work on behalf of small businesses and his very constructive feedbacks with these proposals. And I'm very proud that our government today has announced that we're lowering the corporate tax rate for small businesses to 9% by 2019. We've always been the government of growth, of inclusive prosperity. We'll always be behind small entrepreneurs. The small business tax rate was already the lowest in the G7. That's going to make our businesses more able to compete, more able to grow and to prosper and to contribute. We'll always be behind small businesses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Chilliwack Hope.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals tried to cover up spending nearly $250,000 on the design of their 2017 budget cover, which included $90,000 in so-called talent fees. They obviously don't have the talent of respecting taxpayer dollars. While $212,000 isn't much to the owners of family fortunes and French villas, it's several years of wages for middle-class Canadians. How can these Liberals justify sticking hard-working taxpayers with a $250,000 bill for nothing more than some fancy photo images on a budget cover?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to set the record straight, they've spent twice as much every year they were in power. I rest my case, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Chilliwack Hope.
Only a Liberal would think $600 is more than $212,000. We know that the Prime Minister loves his covers, whether it's the Rolling Stone, Vanity Fair, and apparently budget covers as well. In 2 years, the Liberals have spent nearly $400,000 on budget cover images. Even this Finance Minister and this Prime Minister can appreciate $400,000. That represents a down payment on a French villa or half of a Mercedes Roadster. But how can the Liberals justify sticking taxpayers with $400,000 for 2 years' worth of budget cover pages?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to remind that the previous government has spent millions of flashy television advertising to promote and brand itself. They've spent twice as much as we have. We've taken a much more targeted approach to our advertising and to our branding. And he should go look at the numbers of the previous government before standing up in the House to ask a question like that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lord.
Order.
L'honorable député de Beauport.
The Honourable Member for Beauport-Limoilou. $200,000 for the cover of a book. $200,000 for the cover of the federal budget. $200,000 for paper. That's the Liberal brand. It's not a mistake. This was a decision that they made. The member for Louisville says that his government works for everyone. What is he going to tell them after he spent $200,000 on paper? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, I would say very simply that the previous government spent $650 million for their promotion while they were in power, an approach that is a lot less responsible. It's 2 times less than what they spent for promoting their budget, and so we are very proud.
Member for Parry Sound, Muskoka.
Speaker, the parliamentary secretary has just talked about a targeted approach, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, the honourable members on the government side know a lot about targeting small business owners, targeting middle-class Canadians, targeting people who are struggling to make ends meet. That's their targeted approach, Mr. Speaker. When will the Liberals understand that the blind trust that they have in the finance minister is misplaced?
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, a targeted approach, Mr. Speaker, was raising taxes on the wealthiest 1% to lower them for 9 million Canadians, a measure they voted against. A targeted approach, Mr. Speaker, was making the Canada Child Benefit more progressive, reducing child poverty by 40% in this country. A measure they voted against, Mr. Speaker. A targeted approach has been one that has grown this economy at its fastest rate for the last decade, that has reduced unemployment to its lowest rate in the last 9 years, that has created 437,000 jobs, most of them full-time. That's a targeted approach, Mr. Speaker. That's working.
The honourable member for Timmins, James Bay.
Mr. Speaker, the allegations of widespread fraud committed against the people of Saskatchewan raises serious questions about the operating culture in the Health Minister's office. Now, Joe Krupe is alleged, among other things, of having stolen $1 million from a breakfast program in a community so poor the kids don't have a school, and yet her officials protected his access despite the warning bells from the Attorney General and the RCMP. So yeah, now her lawyers are going after Krupe for the money, but that was money stolen from the mouths of children. What steps will she take to make it right for the children of Saskatchewan and right for the people of Canada?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, it's completely unacceptable when public funds intended for Indigenous peoples are misappropriated. The consulting group in question was involved in a third-party agreement with Health Canada and the Saskatchewan Health Services Board between 2010 and 2015. Once the department was made aware of an RCMP investigation into the consulting group, it conducted an audit of its agreements with the company. The department is now exploring its options to recover the funds that were found to be misappropriated. The department has taken corrective actions to ensure this does not happen again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Desnethi, Missinippi, Churchill River.
The Métis and non-status found out last week that they are not included in the government's 60 Scoop survivor settlement. This betrayal has caused great pain to Métis and non-status survivors, who are no less part of the 60 Scoop. How can we truly achieve reconciliation when Métis and non-status are being told by the Liberals that they don't exist and that their suffering is not worthy of recognition and compensation? Why were the Métis and non-status intentionally excluded?
For Indigenous Relations.
Mr. Speaker, the 60 Scoop is a dark and painful chapter in Canada's history. This agreement in principle represents the first step in resolving this issue. We know that there are other claims that remain unresolved, including those of the Métis and non-status. We remain committed to working with all Indigenous people affected by the 60 Scoop to resolve these remaining litigations by negotiation.
The Honourable Member for Beauport-Côte-de-Beaupré, Ile d'Orléans, Charlevoix. We found out that during an event, the Parliamentary Secretary announced the government's real position to Washington by mentioning that supply management was on the negotiating table. This government keeps selling out farmers in my riding, from Lac-Saint-Jean and everywhere else in Quebec, to make the Americans happy. We see that this government is suddenly bowing down before the United States. Can this Prime Minister confirm for our farmers that he is getting ready to use them as bargaining chips when supply management is non-negotiable? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It's a system that works. Protecting supply management is important for us, the Canadian consumers, and for dairy and agricultural industries across the country. I believe in supply management, as does everybody in the House. Oh, wait, except for members of the Conservative Party. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Lévis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, our dairy farmers from Lévis-Lotbinière, Bellechasse, Lac-Saint-Jean, and all over Quebec are worried. The Parliamentary Secretary for Canada-U.S. Relations said that there is room to negotiate opening up supply management, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs should have contradicted that to put an end to the matter. Will the Liberal government confirm to our farmers that the Parliamentary Secretary stated the Liberals' real position and is getting ready to open up supply management to please the Americans? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On this side, we are going to protect supply management. We agree with the idea that everyone should be able to make their own decisions, but I'm convinced that everyone here in the House supports supply management, except for the Conservative Party. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Niagara West.
Mr. Speaker, when they think Canadian farmers are listening, they claim they're defending them at the NAFTA negotiations. But in Washington, behind closed doors, the Parliamentary Secretary for Canada-U.S. Relations said that Canada had, quote, room to negotiate on supply management. Protecting our agriculture sector should not be negotiable. How can Canadian farmers trust this government to defend supply management in public here in Canada, yet behind closed doors in secret in Washington, it's something different?
The Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Actually, I was there, and it was on a TV panel, and I didn't say the words ascribed to me. I will make the point, Mr. Speaker, we have always defended supply management. It's a system that works. Everyone on this side of the House, everyone in the House, indeed, supports supply management, with the exception of significant portions of the Conservative Party of Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Coquitlam, Port Coquitlam. Order.
Mr. Speaker, the BC Coroner Service announced last week that the province's death toll from suspected overdose now stands at 1,013, more than the entire number reported during 2016. We know that this is an urgent public health crisis. Can the Minister of Health tell us what she's doing to address this deadly epidemic?
Good question. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I would like to thank my honourable colleague for his important question and also his advocacy on this issue. Our government has been very clear that this is a national public health crisis in Canada, and we are responding in a way that is collaborative, compassionate, and comprehensive. In addition to passing Bill C-37, which streamlines the application process for supervised consumption sites, we are also providing over $10 million in urgent support to British Columbia to assist with its response to the opioid crisis. Our government will continue to bring forward evidence-based solutions to help save lives in Canada. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Brantford Brant.
Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Minister of Veterans Affairs. Late last Friday, the Minister quietly announced that he was severely cutting the number of wreaths to be distributed for Remembrance Day ceremonies. With all of the extravagant and unnecessary spending that this government is involved in, why is it that commemorations to honour the sacrifice of Canadian veterans are the first things to get cut? What was the minister thinking when he signed off on this shameful idea?
Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, let me be blunt. There will be no depriving any member of the wreaths that he or she may lay at a cenotaph or at a monument in his or her riding. In fact, every member in this House, as always, will be allotted at least 2. And if you need more, all you have to do is ask us, and we would be happy to give you as many as you need. Thank you.
Order, order, order. I want to remind the Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs that when we say you around here, it refers to the Speaker. I don't think he wants just to refer to the Speaker. Yeah, I appreciate that. But I would ask him to remember to direct his comments to the Chair in the future. Allowed.
Order. Order. The Honourable Member for Longueuil-Saint-Hubert. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Heritage consulted our entire cultural ecosystem for 18 months, but didn't listen in the end. All the stakeholders were clear our culture is at issue here and now, but the Minister didn't listen. She chose to delay making difficult decisions and handed them over to the CRTC to be made in June 2018, and it's urgent. Le Devoir revealed on Friday that her deputy minister warned her that giving a free pass to big web-based companies wasn't sustainable, but the minister didn't listen to that either. Is it that the minister only listens to the prime minister, lobbyists, or finally if she's only listening to her self-talk? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, our government is proud of having announced our vision for the future of creative industries. This industry provides high-quality jobs to more than 630,000 Canadians. We are committing to our new economic strategy, which will support families throughout the entire country. Thanks to Creative Canada, we're going to change our policies to help our creators and cultural businesses to meet the challenges of the digital realities of today. Canadians will be able to share their creations on the international stage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the economy is going through significant changes, and there are specialized capacities that prioritize the development of expertise. In several sectors, Canada has a great deal of talent, and it is well positioned to be a leader.
Take full advantage of the changing global priorities and create the jobs for the future now to ensure a strong foundation for the next generation of Canadians. Can the Minister of Innovation, Science and Economic Development please explain to the House the steps our government is taking to...
Honourable Minister of Economic Development.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member from Sackville, Preston Chesapeake, for his question. As the member well knows, part of our innovation and skills plan was to introduce superclusters, and this initiative was about growing the economy and creating jobs. This is a $950 million investment to create up to 5 superclusters, and this is really about collaboration. And I saw that firsthand when I traveled across the country to identify the shortlist for this initiative, Mr. Speaker. I can tell you right now, this is a business-led initiative. We had over 1,000 businesses participate, over 350 partners, including 100 academic institutions. It is good for the economy and good for jobs.
Honourable Member for St. Albert, Edmonton.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Justice claims to support mandatory sentences for serious offences, yet Liberal MPs voted to defeat a Conservative amendment to Bill C-46 to provide for a 5-year mandatory sentence for impaired drivers who kill. So, was the minister insincere when she claimed that she supports mandatory sentences for serious offences, or does the minister believe that impaired driving causing death isn't a serious offence?
Honourable Minister of Justice.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I've said many times, the Prime Minister has asked me to do a broad review of the criminal justice system. I am undertaking that in partnership with the provinces and territories. Review of mandatory minimum penalties in the criminal code is a substantive part of that review, and I hope to bring forward changes in the near future. With respect to impaired driving, we are doing everything we can to ensure safety on our roads. That is why we introduced substantive legislation by way of C-45 to ensure that we have as much safety on our roads and to ensure that people do not get behind the wheels of their car when they've been driving with alcohol or drugs.
The Honourable Member for Pierre Boucher, Les Patriotes, Verchères. Mr. Speaker, what we have before us is the government of bad ideas and botched jobs. Always getting on the backs of ordinary folks, but incapable of tackling the big players. We saw with the attempt to weaken the Consumer Protection Act, with the Netflix privilege, and with the idea of taxing discounts for minimum wage employees. And now it's the SME tax reform. Instead of holding a press conference to make a panicked announcement that he's going to make announcements, why doesn't the minister do things right and postpone his reform? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think we've been very clear in the election campaign that we want to make sure that we make things right with the tax system. We listened to Canadians from coast to coast, and we listened to our caucus to make sure that we did things right. That's what we're getting ready to do, and that's what we're going to reveal to Canadians this week. Thank you. The Honourable Member for Terrebonne. Mr. Speaker, 2 years ago, the Minister of Transport said that railway safety was his #1 priority. 2 years later, it doesn't really show. There's still no bypass in Lac-Mégantic, and rail infrastructure looks like it's from the 19th century in several places. We have bombs on wheels rolling through our lands, along our rivers, and in our cities. And the minister's asleep at the switch. What is he waiting for to get moving? He needs to change the rules for railway safety. The Honourable Minister of Transport. Mr. Speaker, as you know, railway safety is my highest priority. And, of course, we extend our condolences and our thoughts to the victims of Lac-Mégantic. We are working very hard since then to implement measures to make sure that there is more safety. And when it comes to Lac-Mégantic, we are working with the province of Quebec, with the city of Lac-Mégantic to find a solution, and I can assure you that we will find one. Thank you.
Member for Nunavut.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Indigenous Services. The government has split Indigenous and Northern Affairs Canada and designated a Minister of Indigenous Crown Relations and Northern Affairs and a Minister for Indigenous Services. While touring my riding, I heard concerns that this decision will only add another layer of bureaucracy and make it even more difficult to deliver on pressing issues like Nunavut suicide rate and the lack of mental health services. My question is, specifically, how is the split of the department going to help solve these and other issues that Nunavut youth currently face? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Parliamentary Secretary.
Our government is committed to a renewed relationship with Indigenous people. We have listened to RCAP's recommendation to simultaneously improve the delivery of services while accelerating a move to self-determination for Indigenous people. We have committed $187 million towards community-based health programs in Nunavut, and the Inuit Crown Partnership Committee will help guide our actions on shared priorities. We must continue to address the day-to-day realities in Nunavut and all Indigenous communities while building a path towards reconciliation and systematic change. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Excellent.
Tabling of documents. I would ask colleagues to assist me by continuing their conversations outside in the lobbies, and other colleagues who are listening to say shh. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Dépôt du document, l'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Defence. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 109, it is my honour to table in both official languages the response of the government to the 6th report of the Standing Committee on National Defence on the operational availability of the Canadian forces. It was tabled on the 15th of June, 2017. Introduction of government bills. Statements by ministers. Reports from interparliamentary delegations. Presenting reports from committees. The Honourable Member for Montreal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is my honour to table in both official languages